Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. And today we're tackling a pairing that, on the surface might seem like they'd butt heads constantly.
Yeah, they're definitely a bit of a paradox.
That's a good way to put it. Enneagram, type 1 the perfectionist, and type 8 the challenger.
Right up front, you think conflict waiting to happen, right?
Well, yeah. Type
Yeah.
1s are all about order and principles, doing things the right way.
hmm
And then you've got type 8s who are bold, assertive, and not afraid of a little confrontation.
It's like fire and ice almost.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how does this actually work? Can these two really find harmony together?
Well, it's actually pretty fascinating because what might seem like a recipe for disaster, those differences,
Right.
those actually can become the foundation of a really strong and dynamic relationship.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and a key thing to remember is that both types, even though they seem so different at first glance,
Yeah.
they actually share some really core values.
Okay, like what?
Well, they're both deeply principled, driven by a strong sense of justice,
Mhm.
and they're not afraid to stand up for what they believe in.
Interesting.
So this shared moral compass that they have can create a really powerful bond.
Right, so they're both kind of fighting for the same cause, even if they're coming at it from totally opposite directions.
Exactly. They're united in their pursuit of a common goal.
I like that. So that makes sense for the big picture stuff.
Mhm.
But what about everyday communication?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
Because we know type 1s are generally more reserved.
Well, it's on the quiet side, right?
Yeah, and then you've got type 8s who are much more outspoken.
Very direct.
How do they bridge that gap?
Well, it's all about finding that balance,
Hmm.
between directness and diplomacy.
Okay.
Type 8s with their, blunt honesty, they might need to learn to soften their delivery a bit.
Because type 1s can be a little sensitive to criticism.
Exactly, even if it's meant to be helpful.
Right.
And on the flip side, type 1s who might hold back a little bit,
Yeah.
they can actually learn from the type 8s how to be more assertive and really voice their opinions with confidence.
So it's a two-way street. They both have something to learn from each other.
Absolutely. It's about growth on both sides.
I like that. So they learn to communicate, but what happens when conflict inevitably comes up?
Uh-huh. Yeah, because it's bound to happen.
These are two strong personalities we're talking about here.
For sure. But here's the thing. Their different approaches to conflict can actually work really well together.
Really?
Yeah. Type 1s with their desire for harmony can help type 8s to, approach disagreements a little more diplomatically.
So they kind of smooth things over a bit.
Exactly. Finding those win-win solutions instead of always going straight for the jugular.
Right. And then what about the type 8? What do they bring to the table?
Well, type 8s with their comfort with confrontation.
Yeah, they don't shy away from it?
Exactly. They can actually help type 1s stand their ground a bit more.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, not be afraid to fight for what they believe in, even if it means ruffling a few feathers along the way.
So it's like they balance each other out. The type 1 helps the type 8 be more diplomatic, and the type 8 helps the type 1 be more assertive.
Exactly. It's a pretty amazing dynamic when you think about it.
It really is. It's funny you're talking about this because I actually know a type 1 and type 8 couple who run a business together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they say it's a constant push and pull, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that tension is actually what drives their creativity and their success.
That makes so much sense. It's like they challenge each other to be better.
Yeah, they're always pushing the boundaries.
Exactly. And they take risks together that they might not take on their own.
I love that. That's such a cool example.
It really shows how powerful this pairing can be.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how this can work.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out a bit and talk about their everyday life together.
Okay.
What does it actually look like when a type 1 and a type 8 are navigating the mundane stuff?
Well, just picture this for a second.
Okay.
The type 1 with their love of order,
Right.
they probably have this meticulously planned schedule for the day.
Oh, yeah. Color-coded calendars, to-do lists, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And then you've got the type 8 who thrives on spontaneity.
Who probably finds that a little stifling.
Right. They're already brainstorming ways to shake things up a bit, inject some adventure into the day.
Like a last-minute road trip or something.
Exactly. Or a surprise dinner reservation.
So the type 1 creates the foundation, and the type 8 comes in and adds a little spice.
That's a great way to put it. They each provide what the other lacks.
I like that.
It's like, the type 1 keeps things from spiraling into chaos,
Yeah?
and the type 8 keeps things from getting too predictable and mundane.
So they kind of keep each other grounded, but also excited about life?
Exactly. They create this dynamic that's both stable and exhilarating.
This is really making me rethink everything I thought I knew about type 1 and type 8 compatibility.
It's full of surprises, right?
It really is. And it's making me wonder about their friendships.
Oh, yeah.
Is it all serious business, shared values all the time?
Well, it definitely goes deeper than that. Often it's rooted in their shared love for intellectual exploration. You know, those deep conversations and debates.
I can see that.
Like, imagine them just huddled over coffee talking about philosophy, dissecting current events,
Yeah.
or, challenging each other's perspectives on everything from politics to art.
Yeah, they don't hold back.
Exactly. And they're not afraid to disagree, to push each other's buttons even.
But it's always with respect.
Absolutely. And a genuine desire to understand the other person's point of view.
That's so cool. So their friendship is fueled by this intellectual curiosity and a willingness to really engage in these lively, even heated discussions.
Exactly. They're not afraid to go deep and challenge each other and ultimately learn from those differences.
That's what makes it so enriching, right?
Absolutely. It's a constant source of intellectual stimulation, personal growth, and yeah, even a bit of healthy competition sometimes.
I love it. They push each other to think critically, to expand their horizons, and to really see the world from different perspectives.
It's a pretty amazing dynamic. And there's so much more to uncover about this fascinating pairing.
Well, we're definitely going to dig into that.
Definitely.
So we've talked about the good stuff, but let's be real. No relationship is perfect.
Definitely not.
What are some of the potential pitfalls here? Where do those sparks we talked about turn into, like, full-blown fires?
Well, one area that can be tricky is decision-making.
Oh, yeah. I can see that.
Type 1s, they need to carefully consider everything, plan it all out.
Right.
And type 8s are more impulsive.
So that could clash.
Yeah, imagine like a spontaneous weekend getaway.
Okay.
The type 8 is all about it, like adventure time.
Throwing a toothbrush in a backpack and hitting the road.
Exactly. But the type 1
Is having a meltdown because nothing is planned.
Yeah, it's like a logistical nightmare for them.
So how do they deal with that?
Well, communication is key, right?
Of course.
The type 1 needs to learn to loosen up a little, embrace the spontaneity.
And the type 8 needs to respect the type 1's need for structure.
Exactly. It's all about finding that compromise.
That sweet spot where everyone feels heard.
Exactly. Now, another potential challenge is emotional expression.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Type 1s are more reserved.
Keeping those feelings under wraps.
Yeah, and type 8s, they're much more outwardly expressive.
So it's like they're speaking different languages almost.
That's a great way to put it. The type 8 might be pouring their heart out.
And the type 1 is just like, uh-huh.
Exactly. And the type 1 might show love through actions, acts of service, thoughtful gestures.
But the type 8 might miss those cues.
Right. They need that direct affirmation.
So how do they navigate that difference?
Well, it takes effort from both sides.
Of course.
Type 8s need to be patient with the type 1's more reserved nature.
And type 1s need to make an effort to be more vulnerable.
Exactly. Express those feelings even if it's uncomfortable.
It sounds like a lot of work.
It can be, but it's worth it.
Okay, so what about stress? How do they handle pressure and those curveballs that life throws at them?
Well, stress can really magnify those differences.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Type 1s under pressure, they can get rigid controlling.
Clinging to routine.
Exactly. Like it's their lifeline.
And type 8s.
They might become even more assertive.
Yeah.
Bulldozing their way through obstacles.
Taking charge.
Yeah, but that can leave the type 1 feeling overwhelmed.
It's like they're not being heard.
Exactly. So it's crucial that they both have healthy coping mechanisms.
To manage that stress individually.
Yeah, things like mindfulness exercise, even just taking some time for themselves.
And being able to communicate those needs to each other.
Absolutely. Support and understanding are essential.
It's amazing how these two types can create such a dynamic partnership.
It's truly fascinating.
With all their strengths and weaknesses, they have the potential for incredible growth.
Yeah, they each hold a piece of the puzzle that the other one needs.
I love that. So how can they actually help each other grow as individuals?
Well, type 1s, with their integrity and commitment to personal growth, they can help type 8s become more self-aware. Challenge them to be more mindful of their impact on others, to consider different perspectives.
Could be a bit more empathetic.
Exactly. And type 8s, with their boldness and willingness to take risks.
They can push the type 1 out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely. Encourage them to be more spontaneous, to trust their gut.
To not overthink everything.
Exactly. So they really help each other find that balance.
Between order and spontaneity, head and heart.
Beautifully said. It's about appreciating those strengths and respecting the differences.
This is honestly making me rethink everything I thought I knew about compatibility.
It's not about finding someone who's exactly like you, right?
It's about finding someone who compliments you, who challenges you, and helps you become the best version of yourself.
Well said. And that's why the Enneagram is so fascinating,
It helps us understand ourselves and others.
and how those relationships shape our lives.
We've been focusing on romantic relationships, but these insights apply to any type 1 and type 8 interaction.
Oh, definitely. Friendships, family, professional partnerships.
It's all about understanding respect and embracing those differences.
Absolutely. The more we appreciate those unique gifts and challenges.
The more fulfilling our relationships can be.
Well said.
It's funny, isn't it? We talk about compatibility like it's this perfect puzzle.
Yeah, two pieces that just click right into place.
Right. But what I'm hearing from you today is that with type 1 and type 8, it's more about embracing those rough edges.
Absolutely. It's those places where they don't quite fit, that the real growth happens.
Because they're bumping up against each other.
Yeah, they're challenging each other, pushing each other to change.
And becoming more well-rounded because of it.
Exactly. It's like they each hold up a mirror.
Showing the other person their blind spots.
Yeah, those patterns they might be stuck in.
And that's what makes this pairing so powerful, right?
It is. They can be each other's best teachers.
Helping each other develop those weaker areas.
Right. The qualities that might be underdeveloped in their own type.
So it's not just about accepting the differences. It's about using them to grow.
Exactly. See those differences not as problems, but as opportunities.
Because they each bring something unique to the table.
Absolutely. And when they combine those strengths,
They become a force to be reckoned with.
I love that. It's like they have this whole toolkit.
And they can build something amazing together.
It's all about collaboration, not one person dominating.
Working side by side towards a common goal.
That's what true compatibility is all about.
And it's not just romantic relationships either, right?
No, not at all. It's about any relationship where these two types interact.
Friendships, families, even work partnerships.
The same principles apply.
Understanding respect.
And a willingness to embrace those beautiful differences.
Because ultimately, those connections are what enrich our lives.
Couldn't agree more.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I've learned so much.
Me too. It's always fascinating to explore these dynamics.
And to anyone listening who's in a type 1, type 8 relationship or thinking about one,
Embrace the journey.
it might be challenging at times.
But it's definitely rewarding.
And remember, the Enneagram is just a tool.
It's a starting point.
The real work happens in those everyday moments.
How you communicate, how you handle conflict.
How you support each other.
And if you're looking for more guidance on this journey,
Personality NFT is a great resource.
they've got personalized readings, workshops, a whole community of enthusiasts.
So whether you're a type 1, a type 8, or somewhere in between,
Keep exploring.
keep learning and keep connecting with others.
Because those connections are what make life truly meaningful.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the fascinating world of type 1 and type 8 compatibility.
Thanks for joining us.
We'll see you next time for another insightful exploration of personality and relationships